like my number one core value, my friends, my community know is love. Like my book, I talk about that. We can be poison and we can be pixie dust, but I want to spread the light and love everywhere I go. That's who we are. That's what we represent. And your patients ultimately experience that when they're in your presence, and your employees experience that within the culture of your business. So I think it's absolutely necessary that each business owner knows exactly what their core values are and that they live their core values, that it exudes from who they are and how they behave.
Because no matter what you're doing, and you think of like this whole podcast is called The Business of Aesthetics, right? But and the end of everything is basically we have to build trust. It has to be a one-on-one relationship. So ultimately, you can only do treatments that you believe in. Anytime you sort of look at a patient and say, I want to do 4 syringes on someone, 3 syringes, you're going to you're going to fail as a practice if that's your outcome, is to say, I want to look at people as numbers. You have to basically make that person happy.
Point is that you have to find the right platform that works for you, that maybe has a little bit better chance of going viral. And that is where patients are. That's where they're looking to get their information. So you could really be successful, because in this cesspool of information on social media, if you're the one who's being safe and speaking the truth and trying to do right by the patient and recommending legal things, then you really could stand apart. It's kind of a low bar, but I think that would be where I would say from social media is you got to keep trying until you find it. But be true. I'm not going to say be authentic or whatever, but just be honest, be legal, and be safe.
Well, I do something called the R3 analysis for my team to know which category of personality they fall into. And it's something that I love doing on a regular basis when new people join, because you find out if someone's in this analysis, it's driver, influencer, analyzer, or stabilizer. And as we've all done these in our organizations, we have our public self, our perceived self, and our private self. And I know which team members are very much going to get flustered when I change the systems.
Well, welcome to the Business of Aesthetics Annual Leadership Expert Panel webinar. This engaging 1-hour session is specifically designed to provide aesthetic professionals, practice owners, practice managers, and administrators with strategies to strengthen their leadership skills and foster successful, thriving practices. Thank you for joining us. And I'm just going to share my screen. There we go. And so thanks for joining us and our panel of renowned industry leaders as they share actionable strategies and valuable insights to tackle the unique leadership challenges faced by the aesthetic professionals today. We also have a very interesting gift for you that I'll have more details closer to the end of our webinar, so please stay connected, and I'll give you a little hint. Narain Arul-Raja, the founder of Business of Aesthetics Institute, is part of this special gift, but that's all I've got for you for now, but I look forward to sharing more details with later in the webinar. So first of all, welcome to our panelists for this webinar, Dr. Anil Shah, Dr. Jonathan Kaplan, Dr. Amanda Holden, and Yvonne Delos. It is great to have you guys with us.
Happy to be here.
Thanks for having us here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Today, with our Thriving Dentist Annual Leadership Expert Panel, we're going to dig into the leadership blueprint, building thriving aesthetic practices. Perfect timing, just 3-4 weeks now, I guess, into the 2025. What a great time to be talking about thriving as we enter into this year. This is a live event, so please engage with your peers, ask questions, and we're confident you'll leave equipped with actionable strategies to implement immediately. Now, if you put a question in the chat or you want a comment in there, I will connect with those as we're going forward. If we're not able to address the question you put up in real time during the webinar, then one of our webinar managers will reach out to you with an answer. Nothing will hit the floor. We'll make sure everything gets responded to. So before we jump into the topic for today. Let me go ahead and introduce our panel, and I'll just start off and introduce myself. As a leadership coach, professional mediator, facilitator, and podcast and webinar host, I'm passionate about helping set leaders and their teams up for success that matters. With a focus on communication, conflict, and change, my team and I at Capstone Coaching help unlock and engage the full potential of an organization and its people. From difficult conversations to influential leadership, unconditional curiosity to first choice employers, I love making my ceiling someone else's floor. Our first panelist today is Dr. Anil Shah. Dr. Shah is a double board certified facial plastic surgeon specializing in cosmetic procedures, including rhinoplasty, facelifts, neck lifts, and eye lifts. An active researcher, Dr. Shah works to improve facial plastic surgery techniques and technologies and has pioneered approaches when treating the face and neck. He has published more than 50 articles in scientific journals, as well as numerous book chapters on advanced therapies in reconstructive surgery. He also mentors residents both in the classroom and the operating room. Dr. Shah has received many awards and has consistently been named a top doctor in Marquis Who's Who in America, and has been featured in the media around the world, including NBC, Fox, Vogue, Allure, and others. Our next panelist up is Dr. Jonathan Kaplan. Dr. Kaplan is a board-certified plastic surgeon in San Francisco and also a founder and CEO, as you can see from behind him, of Dr. Well, a rapidly growing provider to consumer platform that offers the consumer-centric benefits of direct-to-consumer platforms, but with the added benefit of connecting patients to an actual provider's practice for ongoing continuity of care. Our third panelist up today is Yvonne Delos. Yvonne is a dynamic entrepreneur, motivational speaker, and industry leader in aesthetic medicine. She's the founder of multiple businesses, including the Medical Aesthetic Art Institute, a premier training program for medical aesthetic injectors. Known for her commitment to excellence, Yvonne combines technical expertise with a focus on personal transformation and professional empowerment. Yvonne has trained countless injectors through her courses and empowering them to build successful careers in the aesthetics industry. She is a sought-after motivational speaker who inspires her audiences by sharing her personal journey of resilience, transformation, and success, and author of the book From Food Stamps to Fortunes. And I had a peek at that, and it looks really interesting, Yvonne. Yvonne is deeply committed to helping others build self-confidence, embrace their potential, and design a life they love. And our fourth panelist tonight is Dr. Amanda Holden. Dr. Holden, originally from Santa Cruz, California, has lived in San Diego for nearly 40 years. She earned her bachelor's in biology in 2002 and a medical degree in 2008. After completing a 4-year emergency residence program, she served as chief resident and flight physician for Mercy Air and developed an interest in medical aesthetics. In 2017, Dr. Holden founded Holden Timeless Beauty while working as a staff physician at Palomar Hospital. Since 2020, she has focused entirely on growing Holden Timeless Beauty as its CEO and medical director. Dr. Holden is highly skilled in trauma and aesthetic medicine, balancing emergency care expertise with her passion for aesthetics. It's great to have all four of you here, and as you can tell from the bios that I've shared with you, I think we have the right people for the conversation we're going to have tonight, and you'll see on your screen the points that we're going to be digging into today. I won't go through those. You can have a peek at those. And we also have some great questions lined up for our panel that I'm just really looking forward to, and I'm sure you are, for their insight, their best practices, and their passion. And as I mentioned earlier, I encourage you to connect with us through the chat on any questions you might have, and for sure any comments. We'll be every effort to share them in live real time, and if we can't, we definitely will follow up with you to make sure we get an answer to your question. So let me go ahead and stop the share. And let's go ahead and get started with our questions. And I am going to start with Dr. Shah. Dr. Shah, what was your inspiration as well as the most significant challenge you faced transitioning from a practitioner to a leader, and how did you overcome it?
I think the biggest challenge is, when you're a practitioner, you do everything for yourself. And then once you start to become a leader, you have to trust other people to be an extension of yourself. So you have to learn how to delegate and communicate effectively. And you still want your vision kind of permeating through the practice, whether that's your social media, customer service, other providers, the same sort of quality control, but it has to come through your voice and how you're doing that. So obviously, when you're just yourself, it's easy. You can manage yourself easily. But once you start adding on different people and you start to grow and expand, you have to learn to delegate to other people. So that's harder.
And how did you overcome that? Like, as far as that challenge, how did you approach that?
It's kind of difficult because, again, as a physician, I don't think we really get trained in business and all of those things. And so you try to find inspiration in other things, like actually some podcasts and YouTube, and, you do your own sort of MBA and learning from these people who've been successful, talking to other people who run businesses, just talking to people how they've handled this and how they kind of run things efficiently. Like, wow, I really love that plan. And to me, and I was looking at organizations and businesses that just seem to run seamlessly, and you're like, that really runs great, and people who don't spend all that time. So you get ideas in books. For example, there's a book called The 5 Minute Manager, and someone who knows how to manage their practice in 5 minutes. I'm not sure if you've ever read it. It's like one of those classic books where, if your practices run well, you can manage it in 5 minutes. And so you read these inspirational books and talk to inspirational people, and then hopefully that changes to your practice and translates.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Shaw. I found today, really, with this global connection we have and things like this and live webinars and people and LinkedIn and all these places, platforms, I know for me, just to reach out to somebody who you identify with, that you like what they're doing, you like who they are, why they matter, and ask them just this simple question. If I asked any of you, what are you guys passionate about? That answer would have such richness and depth in helping me kind of shape how I'm going to fit into this thing, how I'm going to be part of whatever this looks like. And I think folks we forget to do the simple stuff. Really, what I'm hearing you say, Dr. Shaw, just reach out. What's that saying? Remember, was it reach out and touch someone? Now that idea, there's an opportunity there. Take advantage of it when you can. Most of us are very receptive to those kind of conversations. Yvonne, I'm going to go to you next. What pivotal moments or experiences led you to embrace a leadership role, particularly in your entrepreneurial ventures?
I would have to say I did a lot of self-reflecting when employees would leave, because at the beginning of my career, I would take it personal. As a new business owner, when an employee would leave, I would take it personal. And so I too, like Dr. Shaw, would jump into books on how to be a better leader and how to better lead a team and better lead myself so that I wouldn't take things personal. And I've learned that as a business owner, people are going to come and go. And there's a season really for each of your employees, but there's also a season for your business. So when my business was in infancy, those same employees aren't going to help it become a teenager. So as my business evolved, my employees would turn over and evolve as well. So I've just kind of learned to embrace that most employees will come and stay for an average of 18 months. And as the business grows, I need more people that are well versed in where we're headed to be able to help me grow the business. So me as a leader, not taking things personal, but then just, pivoting and adjusting as the business grows. There's just different demands.
And that, you said something there that kind of caught my attention. You said it's hard, we can't lead others well if we don't lead ourselves well. And you kind of lean in a bit to that. You've obviously done your own work on that, and just like Dr. Shaw was saying, is there anything particular that has caught your attention in developing how you lead yourself well?
Yeah, I read a lot. I'm obsessive, and I think that's, part of the reason why I wrote my own book for injectors. Mindset really is everything. I learned long ago from Tony Robbins that business is 80% psychology, right? It's our mindset. And to be able to respond and not react, there's a pause in between, and you get to decide which route you're going to take. Are you going to be reactive, or are you going to be responsive? And so as a leader, I've been taught that when we speak, it's like we're speaking through a like a microphone, like megaphone, it's like amplified. So we have to be very mindful when we're communicating to our employees or our team that we got to be very mindful of how we speak and always maintain that leadership role, because everybody's counting on us. And not often, I mean, not always do we know what we're doing, right? Like we're all figuring it out as well, because again, as Dr. Shaw mentioned, I went to nurse practitioner school, you guys went to medical school. They don't teach us anything about business. So I believe each one of us took it upon ourselves to become excellent at business by, really immersing ourselves in books and podcasts and additional courses. So
Perfect. Thank you very much, Joanne. Yeah, I just wanted, there's one of the things I find a lot is people, everything in these kind of webinars, that if it's like a fire hose, then it's a fire hose. But if we can break out something that a sound bite or something somebody can grab there, that's great. So thank you very much. Dr. Kaplan, I'm going to go to you next. And the question I have for you is, what role did vision setting and planning play in developing your weight and wellness program?
Well, yeah, as you mentioned at the beginning, I am a plastic surgeon, still operate. But a few years ago, about 2021, as far as a vision, I think it helps to not necessarily have the vision, but have somebody else have the vision and be open to those other ideas. So back in 2021, when we were mostly just operating, doing injectables in our practice, our nurse and nurse practitioner came up to me and said, we've had a lot of consults lately where the patients, their BMI was too high. They weren't good candidates for surgery. So rather than turning them away, how about we start a weight management program? And I was like, okay, and they were saying, we can treat them with phentermine and, naltrexone, bupropion, other medications that are available on the market, and we can do a lot of coaching. And they were really excited about that. So I think the vision of having them excited about it and recognizing that, not squashing their dreams, and accepting that, I might not always have the best ideas or this idea, but they were excited. And so I let them run with it. But then that put us in a position in 2021 for 2022, when all these big name drugs like Ozempic, Mounjaro, well, at least at that time, Ozempic and Wegovy, they went on the FDA shortage list. So all of a sudden we have access to semaglutide from compounding pharmacies. And so that weight management program just blew up because nurse and nurse practitioner had that idea. And then I had my antenna up that, they were excited about this. And then when that additional opportunity came up, even though I didn't have the vision for it, it was a great opportunity that we seized on. And it's been really successful for not just for our practice, but also for our Dr. Well network of providers.
Thank you, Dr. Campbell. When you saw that opportunity and you recognized that, was there one or two things that you prioritized right out of the gate to make a decision whether it was going to be a red light or a green light?
Well, I think it was also to realize it was going to be a green light is I had started this other company that dealt with price transparency in healthcare and e-commerce, by letting patients purchase non-surgical services, and also creating subscriptions for that platform, so that people, when they sign up for Botox, like a package, they'd get charged each month. That's nothing unique. Other people have packages or subscriptions for Botox and things like that. But it was recognizing that solution could be used for this solution of weight management medications, because patients have to sign up for subscriptions for that. So it was looking for solutions and not having to reinvent the wheel. Like, oh, wait, I actually have this, I guess, because I had vision for that years ago. That was an example of when I did have the vision of like realizing that subscriptions would have a future. And then we were able to parlay that platform, that existing platform, for subscriptions. And that was kind of the green light that we needed. Like, how do we handle subscriptions? We can't just start manually charging people each month, keeping credit cards on file. It's a security risk and a bigger hassle than people's credit cards, having to keep track of people's credit cards. The bigger hassle was actually when their credit cards fail and having to track them down. And, you don't want your office staff having to act like a bounty hunter to track people down. So realizing that platform would work for this platform and allowing us to have that vision to pivot and to make use of that platform, to not have to reinvent the wheel, as I mentioned. And then that was really kind of the big green light, is like, wow, we have a solution for this. We can really expand and scale this.
Excellent. Thank you, Doctor. Yeah, that, I hear you. I hear what I hear you say is, recognizing the pain point, but then seeing that you had a strategy that gave you a green light without having to, reinvent 2/3 of the world to try and achieve it.
Exactly.
That beautiful. Yeah. Dr. Holden, you're up. And the question I have for you is, what strategies do you rely on to lead your team effectively during periods of organizational change or conflict? Well, there's a couple of fun words.
Yes. Well, I do something called the R3 analysis for my team to know which category of personality they fall into. And it's something that I love doing on a regular basis when new people join, because you find out if someone's in this analysis, it's driver, influencer, analyzer, or stabilizer. And as we've all done these in our organizations, we have our public self, our perceived self, and our private self. And I know which team members are very much going to get flustered when I change the systems, because I'm an influencer driver, so I'm constantly seeking change. Whereas my regional managers and managers, they're analyzer stabilizers. And as I figured this out, I realized I had to communicate with them differently. So if we are facing uncertain times, I talk to them individually first and tell them it's going to be okay. And this is the vision I see for where things are going to go. Not talking to them in a big group setting where they get to all panic internally by themselves. And with my background in emergency medicine, I've always been calm under pressure. So I just constantly have a task list in my head of, okay, we're facing some issue or some problem that we have to tackle. Let's be very level headed and let's move these things to the top of the to-do list, the task list, and handle those first. So I think they appreciate that. It's kind of like running a code for your business, running a code in the ER, having a level-headed leader that's calm under pressure and says it's going to be okay. And then knowing their team and their leaders and discussing it first with your leadership team. We have 6 others on the leadership team besides myself. And then from there, we figure out together how we're going to disseminate information if it's something that's, something that we have to really quickly pivot from or with. So.
Thank you, Doctor. That whole idea of self-awareness, having it's something that and it's interesting in a lot of medical aligned businesses. I see it a lot, that just to what Dr. Shaw is, that you weren't trained for business. Mm-hmm. And they actually, Columbia did a study that they actually found that after finishing residency, medical doctors, that their empathy level was reduced by 32%. So there's which makes sense. I don't want my doctor to be my buddy. I want him to be the best neurosurgeon if I'm going in for brain surgery. I get that. But I think what was this idea of finding that blend between working on your strength, working on your self-awareness, but then knowing where people are best suited to work together. And right. And that's what I heard you say. And I think that is probably one of the things that people kind of skip over. We just kind of create the job descriptions, drop them in, and then kind of hope it works. So clearly you've taken that to another level. And if I'm in the emergency room, I want to be when you're there. I like this comment.
I'm not there anymore, so sorry. Okay. Sorry, can't take care of you there anymore. But thank you for that compliment.
Thank you, Doctor. Dr. Shaw, I'm going to come back around to you. And the question I have for you is, what systems or processes do you use to build patient trust and team alignment? We've got some real powerhouse phrases tonight.
Okay, so yeah, this is such an important part, because no matter what you're doing, and you think of like this whole podcast is called the business of aesthetics, right? But and the end of everything is basically we have to build trust. It has to be a one-on-one relationship. So ultimately, you can only do treatments that you believe in. Anytime you sort of look at a patient and say, I want to do 4 syringes on someone, 3 syringes, you're going to fail as a practice if that's your outcome, is to say, I want to look at people as numbers. You have to basically make that person happy. And so this takes the business side. So patient trust is such an important part, because if you're operating on someone's face, you literally are going to take apart their face and they're trusting you to make them look normal. If you're going to be injecting someone with fillers, again, trusting them to make them look normal, not have a vascular occlusion, you really want to make sure that you can do that. And that's going to be making sure that you're literally not trying to push anything on them. only do a treatment that you would believe in and or you would have done yourself. And I've done like basically, I make the joke that I've done every treatment on myself except for Votiva, which is female rejuvenation, which yeah, I can't do. Sorry. The other thing you do with trust is you have to constantly be like, I think research is such a big part of it. And for me, I like presenting at national meetings. I like presenting scientific papers. I like really the areas I'm really interested, which is like anything on the face, to really be involved. And it doesn't mean you can be a research expert in every area, but it does mean you're talking to people who are actual experts in that something else. So, I talk a lot about noses and necks, but I'm also going to go to a lecture on someone talking about fillers and this. And as you build that together, you can really make sure that you're giving your patient like what's the latest, what's going out there, and all that kind of things together. So, yeah, lots of important things, but trust is probably the biggest factor here for patients.
And as a patient, potentially, I'm not and looking to have that trust. One of the things I've noticed that we're in dealing with them in a position where there's a very technical piece or medical terminology, that if I don't understand what's being told to me, if it's too much for me, I notice that affects my trust. Like I don't. And how do you balance that? How do you communicate in a way that you meet me where I'm at, who's not a doctor, but you're still communicating what's important, because I know there's inherent things that need to be communicated.
So believe it or not, I will actually tell them the secret sauce. So if I'm going to operate on someone, I will actually, if they want to, I'll say, do you get grossed out by surgery videos? And if they're like, I don't, I want to know exactly what you're doing. And if you've had a revision before, let's say I'm fixing your nose, your neck, and someone's tried and they failed, and you're like, what are you going to do differently? So if you can actually show them the technique that you're doing literally on a patient, and then show them outcome after outcome, and then you can explain why this works from almost an engineering standpoint. And I say at the end of it, I'm not trying to sell you on anything. I'm just trying to tell you why I think this technique that I do works, and I think it's the best technique. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it. And if they like that, that's great. And if they don't like it, that's great. I'm not the doctor for them. That's essentially it.
That's very cool. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love the secret sauce. I'm going to be in the, I don't think I want to know it all, but I'm a little bit more. Yeah, might be able. But Dr. Kaplan, question for you. How do you leverage social media to educate and engage patients while building your brand authority?
Well, social media is a tough one. I'd have to say I was banging my head up against the wall for about 10 years, trying to find a place for social media to try and figure out where I fit in, because you might enjoy another social media influencer, you might enjoy their content. You can't be them. You don't necessarily want to emulate them, because that really might not be your shtick. So you got to stick and move. You got to keep looking for the right voice. And that may include finding the right person to hire to help you with your social media. There's a lot of charlatans out there that claim that they're a social media consultant. They'll help you get started, but they're terrible. And just because they're a millennial doesn't mean they know what they're doing. They might be good at like doing their own social media, but that doesn't mean you're helping. So that would be my advice. You got to stick and move, keep looking, keep searching, keep trying different things, whether it's different platforms or different content or different gimmicks, different collaborations. And you finally, hopefully, will settle on something. So, I mean, like I've found somebody that's really helpful, and my voice was really, I did a better job on TikTok than I have on Instagram. Don't even bother with Facebook or Twitter or X or whatever at all. But TikTok has been really good to me. Instagram has gotten better. But I think you definitely need social media. It's great for education. You might think, oh, people shouldn't be getting their education on social media. Maybe they should be getting it on YouTube, which is funny because YouTube used to be like, oh, why would people getting their education on YouTube? So my point is that you have to find the right platform that works for you, that maybe has a little bit better chance of going viral. And that is where patients are. That's where they're looking to get their information. So you could really be successful, because in this cesspool of information on social media, if you're the one who's being safe and speaking the truth and trying to do right by the patient and recommending legal things, then you really could stand apart, which is kind of a low bar, but But I think that would be where I would say from social media is you got to keep trying until you find it. But be true. I'm not going to say be authentic or whatever, but just be honest, be legal, and be safe. And if you're providing good, reasonable content and education, people will eventually flock to you. I'm not saying they're going to flock to you in the thousands and the millions, but all you need is a few patients a month to want to come in and have you perform their procedure or non-surgical service.
Thanks, Dr. I love that. Be legal, be safe, be real. There's a whole new little slogan right there. You can build something right out on that. For me, I know with myself with social media, when I listen to what you say, my philosophy is always that I would give away my best stuff in order to earn the right to ask for implementation as a leadership coach, and it was about sharing what we're doing right here, just sharing our stuff, sharing. And I think that it's about providing content that is actionable, that has best practices, that has something already. Tonight, you guys have given people little sound bites of things that they can capture and leave this webinar and do something differently, that's the beauty of this. And then obviously the fact that they got it from one of you, we just kind of hope that they end up trailing back to you as well as us. So that is awesome. Thank you, Dr. Kaplan. I think I'm going to go to Yvonne next. And the question I have for you, Yvonne, is what strategies have you implemented to maintain alignment with your values while overseeing multiple entrepreneurial initiatives?
Such an important part of business, I believe. I read a book, Gino Wickman, The EOS Life, I believe it was, where I learned early on that everything we do, we want to have our core values at the forefront. So let's say, for example, you have a rep that comes in and tries to sell a product. If they're hustling and pushing and your core values don't align, you're going to have some friction and some resistance. So I've learned early on that I really try to just do business with those that I align with. Same with my employees. We have to have the same core values, like they have to vibe with our culture, because otherwise we're bringing bad energy into the space, and our patients ultimately feel it. They can feel the energy. So knowing exactly what your core values are, like my number one core value, my friends, my community know is love. Like my book, I talk about that. We can be poison and we can be pixie dust, but I want to spread the light and love everywhere I go. That's who we are. That's what we represent. And, your patients ultimately experience that when they're in your presence, and your employees experience that within the culture of your business. So I think it's absolutely necessary that each business owner knows exactly what their core values are and that they live their core values, that it exudes from who they are and how they behave.
Perfect, Iman. Thank you. Yes. And I think just because we're talking about business here and we're looking at this, when we think of values, they're part of a package in the context that we have our vision that we establish, which is what we're passionate about, who we are and why we matter, of the business, the organization. And the thing that holds that underpins that are our values. And then of course we have the transactional stuff about what we do and how we do it. And then we have all the KPIs connected to that and all the operational and business strategy pieces that come into that. But so often I find just what you're saying, because we're so driven, we're so balance sheet driven and return to shareholder driven, and we're KPI driven. We sometimes, because it's soft, you use the word love and pixie dust, like that, because it's soft, we don't measure it. And when was the last time we took time to actually celebrate a win that was connected to a value, not just a KPI?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Like today, we were out there getting our books into as many stores as we could with the intention. We really try to put an intention in front of everything we do, every action we take in the business, because I do believe in energy of the universe. I do believe whatever you put out comes back to you. So our intention is to just get the book in as many hands as possible so that we have that impact. So I was listening to, I don't know if it was a podcast, but it's like, what is your intention? Is it, is it income or is it impact? And at this stage in my life, it's 100% impact. I've made great income in my career, and I now on the rest of my life, just my mission is to have impact. So I think everyone needs to, be intentional about, especially business owners, everything that you do that drives you, everything that you do, the more intentional you are, the more clear you are, the more successful you're going to be.
Thank you, Ron. And you actually look forward to coming to work, and like everybody here, be excited about what you're doing and how you're making a difference in other people's lives. I mean, the best part of leadership is, in my world, my language, is making my ceiling somebody else's floor. The opportunity to pour into somebody and to do that. And we obviously are passionate about that here. And that just beautifully summarized that. Dr. Holden, the next question's for you. How do you balance clinical responsibilities with the demands of managing and leading a growing practice?
I delegate. So, in very, very, very simplistic words, I learned the art of delegation and basically delegating tasks massively from a young age. I was a single mom at the age of 19, and I learned how to decide to put things into little buckets and get massive amounts of things done at once. So I balance my leadership with, so what I do, my current routine is I get up at in between 5 and 5:30 in the morning, and I spend my first hour and a half on a walking board working while I'm getting exercise at the same time. And I plan out my day and I write my goals down. I studied with a group called 10X. So we write our goals every single morning with the top 3 things that we want to accomplish, so that then you can write in at the end what your successes are. And so I start my division of duties at that hour, and my team knows that they'll ignore things until they start working at 8:30 a.m., but they may get some emails in their inbox at that time, because I typically start seeing patients around 9. But that gives me time to be a mom, take my son to school, drop him off, and then head into work. As you know, we take a lot of meetings in our car. So I plan, in the 30-minute drive to work, I plan a lot of meetings in my headphones, see patients. And then I typically will carve out Mondays and Fridays to not see patients and be on meetings all day if I'm on Zoom. So balancing the clinical side, I feel like it's seamless. I have a place that I built out here and at my headquarters, where it's a studio setting, but it has my private treatment room, and there's a huge internal room where my leadership team can work throughout the day. So as I come out of the patient room, they can ask me questions, and what I've delegated to them, then they can ask me questions on and handle all the things during the day while I'm going back into the patient room. My MA is taking the patients back in. So it's a great system. I learned that we have to multiply ourselves times 3 in order to really start scaling. So I multiplied myself times 3 first. So I have my 3 most trusted colleagues that I put in positions. And then now you work on multiplying each of them by 3 to keep growing. And then it just allows me to do so much more with my time. So delegation and task lists in the morning early, and then taking time to relax. I will go home after this, hang out with my husband and the family, and kick my feet up for a couple hours before bed. You have to have that time too.
That's just crazy talk. It's taking 2 hours to turn your feet up. What is that? That as a leadership coach, I have a wide range of clients, but one of the most common things that happen, we focus on 4 channels. We focus on business, family, community, and personal. And in almost all the cases, the personal channel is empty. Mm-hmm. They've sacrificed everything, and they've tried, the family's paying the price. There's all these things. And the number one reason, if you peel it all back down, and by the time sometimes they get to me, there's a lot of layers on the onion. By the time we peel it down, what would be the word that probably be significant that we have to deal with right away? Mm-hmm. Delegation. Mm-hmm. Never learn to prioritize or delegate, to be able to separate out, but more importantly, never put a price on how important they were in the journey. Mm-hmm. Because how can you, if you're laid up in a hospital bed, how useful can you be in your practice? Right. So thank you, doctor. That was beautiful. Dr. Shaw, I'm going to come back around to you. And the question I have for you is, how do you evaluate new tools or systems to ensure they align with your practice goals?
Yeah, good question. So, we try to make, lots of processes, like we try to like not blame people, but blame the process. So this is kind of like this feedback system that we're looking at. So when we're looking at technology, we can see what can make our practice run more seamlessly, what can provide a better experience. So for example, the big buzzword right now is AI, right? And so everyone's talking about AI. So our after hours, if you don't get a hold of us and you're calling us after hours, you're going to call something called front desk AI. I'm not like sponsored by anyone, so I'm just kind of like speaking about what think tools we use. So it can actually talk like a normal person when you call. It can actually set an appointment for you. And it's actually pretty good. It crawls your websites, and it's not the exact same. It has a disclaimer. And it's a nice process to put in there. On our websites, if you want to go in there rather than having kind of a more interactive something, again, I'm talking more in the AI sense. There's Lumi AI. Again, not sponsored by anything, but there's like a little chat bot, and people tend to ask the same questions over and over again. So if we can provide a better experience for patients in person, and that way, if someone's on the web and they're asking a question, or someone's a post-op patient, it'll literally take them to a video on exactly what they want to do. And we put so much information on the website so they can do that. So so when we look at a system, can it make us more efficient? If you have a meeting, for example, how many times do you have a meeting, and what's the percentage of times that meetings actually, the actions you take from a meeting like that people actually do them? Like not many, I think. So we have this system called Plodnote. It's another AI system. It records everything. It gives everyone a summary. And then before we start the next meeting the next week, we'll actually go through all processes to make sure we're actually following what we talked about, the changes we were going to make. So lots of little things. I like using technology and these little technological things to kind of help our practice run better. And I think the buzzword right now is AI, and you can actually leverage yourself and leverage your practice to actually run it more efficiently. Still keep it personalized, but use these tools to help it run better.
Thank you, Dr. Shaw. You're absolutely, AI is very topical and very significant, and it's we could have an entire conversation just on that and have no trouble filling an hour. But it will. One thing I heard you say is this whole idea of blame the process. So it's, to me, the concept that it's kind of like reverse engineering. Like, here's where we want to get to. Now, how do we reverse engineer back? There's the problem. Here's where we want to go. Now, what do we need to do to roll back to today to get to that place in a year from now, or 6 months or whatever that is. Dr. Kaplan, I've got a question for you. How do you approach integrating subscription services to enhance patient retention and practice growth?
Well, I think subscriptions, are a great tool to keep patients around. Obviously, it's got to be a product that they want to keep using. And Botox it was a pretty good one, but the weight management, the patients really love the feeling they get from the losing the weight, but also, although it's a little bit nebulous, decreasing inflammation, that they feel like there's less joint pain even before they lose the weight. So the subscriptions really are just very sticky. Obviously, there's a lot of industries that are using subscriptions, but it's been really incredible for us, helping us scale. And so we've gotten to a point where, just from weight management and also different peptides like NAD or Samoralin, that patients like, that the subscriptions themselves are bringing in over $350,000 a month in monthly recurring revenue. And so that's really great to have mailbox money, for lack of a better term, that covers all of your operational expenses. So it's great for the patient that they have that automated system that we're providing through Dr. Well for our practice. But it's also not only the automation that the patient, it's like good customer service. The patient knows that they're going to get their medication sent to them on time, but it's great for the office staff because all those operational expenses, employee costs and fees and things, salaries are covered. So everybody's feeling pretty secure. And so anytime I do surgery, then that money can go into a rainy day fund. So it just relaxes. It kind of brings down your level of anxiety to know that you have that consistent revenue coming in, that you're not, pounding the pavement trying to get another laser treatment in or another surgical procedure in, that the patients that come in that are appropriate for surgery, you offer that to them. but the subscriptions really have changed everything for me. I never thought as a plastic surgeon that I would be able to balance, operating when I want, doing subscriptions, and then also being able to go on vacation. And because our company is remote, the Dr. Well part of the company, part of my life is remote. So we, have 16 employees. And so we can go, don't have to stay in the operating room all the time to be generating revenue, that I can go out and enjoy time with my family, with my wife and son. So it's really kind of allowed me to, subscriptions has really allowed me to reach a happier place in my life. And just, we're always looking for other ways to automate and reduce the friction for any provider. Because now it's not just even aesthetic providers that are using our platform. We've got cardiologists that are tired of the rat race dealing with insurance, we've got OBGYNs, dermatologist. Everybody realizes that, dealing with insurance is just not a way to live a long, healthy, happy life. And they're looking for alternative ways to generate revenue, but still be a doctor and still be able to provide care to patients. And it's very satisfying.
Thank you, Dr. Kaplan. As I'm hearing you thinking of subscriptions and think of the buzzword, side hustles, and the whole idea of having a side hustle. But there's probably people listening to this that are doing that and have that, and our global connectable piece really facilitates and encourages that. But what I heard you say was that it's about doing something that aligns with what you're doing, that helps improve customer service, achieve more time with your family, your own personal time. So it's not, and it generates an income that covers operating costs. That's awesome. But it's a collection of those things. And I think that, from what I heard you say, is that it's really important to weigh in on all of that, to look at what you're going to do as a parallel revenue generator or side hustle, however you want to look at it, that it aligns. Because there's so many things we could do, and who couldn't get pulled 100 different directions today? And how's that going to serve anybody? So,
and most importantly, it's fun. It's all been just really fascinating and fun. Just the pharmacological aspects of these medications, the economics, the politics behind it, the push and pull between the FDA and the compounding pharmacy. It's really fascinating to see all this unfold in front of our eyes.
Thank you, Dr. Kaplan. Dr. Holden, question for you. Can you share with us a recent example of a technological innovation that positively impacted your practice?
So I would say something that's starting to impact it right now is the technological development of Sculpt Neo as a functional medicine protocol. Because this is specifically for, you go from aesthetics patients over to all the applications in medicine in general. And now they've FDA approved another protocol for functional medicine after doing studies in neurosurgery and orthopedic surgery. And now these protocols are being used to strengthen muscles, not for aesthetics, but for recovery in people that have had back injuries, joint injuries, knee injuries, hip injuries, arm injuries, shoulder injuries, all the things that are so applicable to our patients that I used to take care of in the emergency department. But now it's not just aesthetics focused, it's now focused on functional medicine too. So I've started these protocols. I've been partnering with a neurosurgeon out in Scottsdale. I had a back fusion last year, and I'm strengthening my body now like I couldn't before, because you can take functional measurements using typically in medicine, we rate things as 0 to 5 as far as our strength in our extremities. Dr. Abdul Hamid uses a special strength monitor that rates it really on a scale of like 0 to 100 in each of the functional areas of your body. So you get measurements of like 13.5. And then there's this device called InBody, and you stand on it and extend your arms out, and it measures the muscle mass that you have in each of your extremities. And by looking at functional scores plus your actual muscle mass, plus a very specific weakness score or strength score, that's on a whole nother level than we typically measure in the emergency department, we're now going to be able to help bodies in an entirely different way and help people recover in an entirely different way. So that is one of the things I'm most excited about for 2025, is introducing functional medicine into my aesthetics clinics. and rolling out these things that, you know, not everyone wants to dip their toe into the world of how do you hold time back, you know, coming into a medical aesthetic spot. Not everyone wants plastic surgery, but now we have things we can give to people that were aesthetics that now are crossing over into mainstream medicine. So super exciting.
Wow, that is very interesting, Dr. Holden. That's you said it was fun to talk about the 0 to 5. I had this thought. I left my train of thought and parked it for a second. I thought, well, I must not have 5s all the way through. That's why I never got invited to the NFL Combine. That must have been it.
Me neither.
Now I figured it out. That was what it was. Must have. That's what they were talking about. You're a 3.7,
You
Mike.
probably have 5s unless you have
Yeah.
a just you know, disease or something you've suffered through with a spinal injury, but yeah, not
Yeah, it might just be age now. I'm just guessing, but yeah.
yeah.
Thank you very much. Let's go ahead. Yvonne, I got a question for you. And the question is, how do you leverage your extensive network to drive the growth and success of your entrepreneurial ventures?
You know, your network and your net worth are so correlated with one another. I mean, Dr. Holden and I have talked numerous times about networking, doing events together. I have my own medical conference, I have my own women's conference. I'm all about lifting others up and helping them. You know, I'd love to reach back and pull others up and put them on my stage and connect them with others. I was in San Diego and Dr. Singer happens to be like one of the chief officers in Beauty Magazine. And I said, well, I have a new friend. She's the founder of True Bars. She generated 50 million in sales last year. And I said, I would love to get her in this magazine. And he's like, well, of course you would. I said, well, I believe in the quote that says, when you help enough people get what they want, you'll always have what you want. That's by Jim Rohn. And so I said, let's connect her with the CEO of this magazine. Let's try to get her bars in these magazines. So I do believe in networking 100%. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it weren't for people. Several people in the industry who have believed in my innovation on my aesthetic ER kit. You know, Amanda has helped get me on stages and put me in different rooms and connect me with people. You know, so I honestly, it's the people that help you get where you want to go. So networking is powerful. I go to several events a year trying to, you know, glean any knowledge and any information from other practitioners, influential women, leaders, speakers. I'm always learning and growing and trying to put myself in the bigger rooms to stretch myself, to get uncomfortable and to grow.
Yeah, beautiful, Yvonne. I think, you know, the idea of networking, the other side of it's kind of like it's like compound interest. Like it builds value over time. I'm sure all of us here have network that we've had for years. And it didn't start, it started back before we had the things we're doing now. And it always, and what did we invested in those relationships, in keeping in touch, but really just the genuinely being interested in somebody else's activity. What are they doing? And now it's so easy to do that. It's also to be easily be overwhelmed. And now though it seems we've kind of changed the game, like now you know, we think about profit or prosperity, but you think about you're successful based on how many likes you have, how many followers you have, you know, as opposed to that intimate group of people. To your point, where you just said that set you up for success before you
Yeah.
knew what success was even going to look like.
Yeah, just launching my book, I was so impressed with the number of book sales during our pre-launch, just from my network, my community of people truly, truly wanting to support my dream of my book. I mean, it was so humbling. It was such a beautiful experience to witness. So yeah, it is your network, 100%.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, we're reaching the end of our time together. Um, But I would like to just have you each just like a 30-second thing, if you could, and so I can kind of honor our time with our participants. But just thinking about if there's somebody new on here, somebody that's just getting into business, into the practice, into a field that you're into, um, one thing you could tell them that would help set them up for success. You up for that?
Yeah.
I'll start with Yvonne. She's nodding her head first, so I'll pick on her first.
You know what? If I can come from food stamps and create what I've done, anything is possible. And we don't know what we're doing. We just figure it out as we go. So give yourself grace, enjoy the process, have fun, love every bit of it, and embrace the suck because there's going to be plenty of days that really suck. But just keep going. Yeah.
Dr. Holden?
So I would say, believe that whatever you believe you can do, you absolutely can do. And never set your belief lid too low where you don't think you're going to be impacting the world. We have a huge voice in the United States, especially on social media. And the things that we do here, everyone is watching. So we have the ability to impact and move the entire world of aesthetics just from doing the right things and creating the right policies, procedures, and protocols for the future and those people coming behind us. So just know that you can reach for the stars in this field and you can absolutely impact and get there at a very high level. You'll have times where you're going to be afraid. You're going to have times where you're fearful when you want to quit. Push through it and tell yourself to get up and keep going and focus on that big vision of where you want to be in 5 to 10 years, maybe 20 years from now. And you can absolutely get there.
Thank you, Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Shaw?
I think whatever you do, be like you have to be passionate about, like you mentioned earlier, and just get really, really good. And if you think you're good and you think you're an A, you're probably not an A. Like go back and then look back at results and be your own worst critic and keep doing that feedback loop to yourself and ensuring that whatever you're doing, don't worry about anyone else. Whatever you're doing, you're just putting out really, really good work. And then that's an easy way of looking at it.
Thank you, Dr. Shaw. And Dr. Kaplan?
I would say take your finger out of your eye. Whatever you're doing in your life, or whether it's the processes, as Dr. Shaw mentioned, if it's the processes at your practice or the type of practice you're running or the people that are surrounding you, it's probably holding you back. You got to take your finger out of your eye. Stop being miserable. You have a choice to make your life better because it's not. We're not going to be here forever. So you definitely need to start now and finding a way to reduce friction in your life. But also that doesn't mean not working hard, but working better, working smarter, and get the people away from you that are slowing you down, that are bringing you down. You've got to take full advantage of this opportunity that you have and live a better life, surround yourself with better people, happier people, and do what you really want. And if that's a matter of getting rid of all the insurance and taking what you have, that might be the way to start. But it's really critical that you realize that you're not going to be here forever and you need to start taking trips now.
Thank you, Dr. Kaplan. And I fully agree with that. A long time ago, I made a decision to eliminate all the border bullies and surround myself with the border busters and do a whole analytical and create a test for myself of what that meant. But I think there's a saying that comes to mind as I listen to you, see you guys share your wisdom on this, and that's when was the best time to plant a tree? Well, 20 years ago. When's the next best time? Today. So you guys have just thrown out a whole bunch of seeds that somebody can go ahead, and it only takes one mustard seed to make a change, but it's that simple. And I encourage you, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. You recall I mentioned that we have a gift for you. Let me just give you the details on that. And the gift is a token of appreciation, really, for your time and your participation. What we're offering is a free marketing strategy meeting with Lila Stone. She's the Business of Aesthetics Marketing Director of Equa Marketing. Lila's established herself as a trusted expert in digital marketing and is passionate about empowering medical professionals with the marketing tools and knowledge to stand out in a competitive market. You can see on the slide in front of you Lila's considerable specializations. And this gift is specifically from the founder of the Business of Aesthetics, Narain Arora, who is the CEO of Equa Marketing. And if you don't know who Equa Marketing is, they're an international digital marketing organization for doctors, their teams, and their practices. And if you want to go ahead to it'll be in the chat as well, to www.businessofesthetics.org/MSM. You'll be able to book a complimentary session with Lila at your convenience. When I have something like this come in front of me, as was mentioned earlier, there's all kinds of stuff out there that's just not legit. But I always weigh these kind of opportunities with two questions. The first question is, what's at risk for me to take it, to reach out and book a session? Well, in this case, just your time. The question that's probably more significant than making a decision is what's at risk if you don't. So I'll leave that with you. And I want to thank our expert panel for tonight, Dr. Anil Shah, Dr. Jonathan Kaplan, Dr. Amanda Holden, and Yvonne Delos. So much insight, best practices, and actionable content. Thank you so much. Collectively, you've made, at least from my perspective, and hopefully with all of our listeners and viewers, you've made the complex simple, the hidden visible, and the difficult easy. Secondly, thank you to all our attendees for the privilege of your time and your participation. Without you, we don't grow together and we don't set each other up for success, which is what we've been talking about here tonight. A reminder to like, share, and review us. We love likes and we love shares. But please review us on your favorite social media and be a part of someone else's success. So until next time, keep striving for excellence and exceptional patient care. Michael Walker, look forward to seeing you on our next podcast or webinar.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.